Anika from Youth for Animals. Welcome to Zoom In with the experts for Youth for Animals. Just for background, YFA is a platform for young people to promote animal welfare. We have started a series where we interview experts and people about the environment and animals. Our guest for today is Mrs. Anika Sleem, who is a trustee at Free the Wild, which is an organization that aims to stop the suffering of wild animals in captivity and find a way to release them in better conditions. She has done a lot of work in the past regarding animals in captivity, more specifically the project Free Kaavan. Hi, Mrs. Sleem. Thank you for joining us today. And would you firstly like to tell us a little bit about Free the Wild, its mission, and what kind of projects do you do?
Of course. Thank you for having me, Nikita. I'm very glad to be here and to be able to talk with you. Um, Free the Wild's mission is to help animals in captivity, as you mentioned, who are suffering in captivity. And basically, we look at their mental health, their environment, their diet, um, if they're in isolation. We look at things like that. And basically, that's kind of what happened and how we came across Kaavan. Um, so, what we do is we analyze the situation, we speak with the authorities on how we can help, and then we get the experts in to do what they do best. So we do a lot of lobbying, fundraising, raising the platform of who we're petitioning for. We do all the research, we get the okays from authorities. As you can see, we're very active on social media, and Free Kaavan's campaign was literally based on social media. And that's how it just, caught the eye of one of our founders, who's Cher, who
Yeah.
is a recording artist and actress, Oscar nominee. And then also two other co-founders is Cowne and Gina Nelthorpe-Cowne. Uh, so they put together Free the Wild based on Kaavan, which was 5 years ago. So I wasn't part of the organization at that time. I had a Facebook page called Team Kavaan. I don't know if you've ever seen the hashtag, but we had a hashtag going for Team Kavaan. And we met on social media. And then we started talking more in depth on, what we want to do for Kaavan and strategizing. And then eventually I ended up going with Mark and Gina to Pakistan because we got a meeting with Federal Minister Fawad Chaudhry at the time. And that's kind of how we got our foot in the door. We had many meetings before that, but our main issue was that government authorities at that point, who was the management on the zoo, they were not listening. So when Imran Khan came in power as prime minister, things started turning around. But it was a lot of work.
Yeah, that sounds great. So just can you elaborate a bit on your project about Free Kaavan? Like, you already mentioned how it began, but what steps did you take, and what were some of like the specific challenges, and how? Yeah, what were some of the challenges as well?
Okay, so some of the challenges were 5 years ago when we started, the zoo administration was a different management system. It was under different authority, there was a different prime minister in power. So, animal welfare wasn't really a big thing to talk about in Pakistan. No one really paid attention. People go to the zoos for entertainment. And they thought Kaavan was dancing. They never really thought Kaavan was being stereotypical. He had mental issues. He was isolated. His environment was horrible, and he was chained most of the time. So when we started raising these issues with people, it was just falling on deaf ears. We just kept knocking on every single door. Literally for 3.5 years, I want to say, we just kept talking to different groups, talking to different people. We had Twitter storms, we had email campaigns, we wrote petition after petition. Then when, like I mentioned, when I accompanied Mark and Gina to Pakistan, we met with the minister there. And then power was with Imran Khan. It started getting a little bit easier for people to listen to us because Imran Khan started a green initiative in Pakistan, which has really skyrocketed for his tree plantation. So, you know, we started raising these issues that if we're doing conservation on the environment, we need to look at animals in captivity. Kaavan's been, you know, his partner Saheli died in 2012 due to neglect. Many animals died at that zoo horribly, and many were kept in horrific conditions. So we just kept raising the bar slowly, inch by inch. You know, they were listening, they were really accommodating. Media was picking up the story as well within Pakistan. Ears were starting to open. We started then, we petitioned the Islamabad High Court at that point with our litigator, OIS, Owan, and we petitioned the High Court, and it took about a year for the judgment to happen for, you know, it wasn't just for Kaavan, it was to shut down the zoo and release all the animals. So that was the best possible outcome.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned that Kaavan had some mental issues in captivity. I'm just wondering, is this a common issue globally as well for animals in captivity, also for like other animals?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to base it on Islamabad Zoo, and then I'll touch base on the other animals. So in Islamabad Zoo, it wasn't just Kaavan that was suffering. The bears had suffered. They suffered typical stereotypical behavior, head weaving, bobbing, you know, hurting themselves, just tormented in their environment. They basically lived in a cement pit, which to me is completely ridiculous. They would never live like that in the wild. So why would we put them in a place like that for our entertainment?
Yeah.
The monkeys were stressed out. A lot of deers died, you know, from not having enough experts, not having the right medicine, not having the right facility. It was a mess. And if you look at other animals in captivity that aren't kept in a good environment, you'll see that they're suffering the same way. Same way as Kaavan did. We'll talk about elephants. So I'm going to touch base on India.
Yeah.
So I see that there are a lot of elephants in India, which concern me, that are with the temple.
Yeah.
And I feel that that is not a life for such a sentiment being. They're wild. They shouldn't be domesticated. There's always an argument that, you know, this is culture and this has been for hundreds
Yeah,
and
definitely.
hundreds of years, but it doesn't make it right. I think we've desensitized. A lot of people are desensitized because they don't clue in to the suffering of that animal, right?
Yeah.
Those animals are chained, just like Kaavan was chained. Those animals are head weaving, bobbing. Their diet is very poor. They don't get enough rest. They don't socialize as they should, and they get frustrated. So you do see in the news when elephants go crazy and kill their mahouts because they're not happy. They're protesting. So this was the same thing with Kaavan. He was throwing things around. He was destroying his area. You know, he protested. He wants out. He kept head weaving nonstop. When you would see him in the enclosure, he was nonstop weaving his head, swinging left to right. He had nothing to do. He was completely bored. I mean, these elephants should never be domesticated. They should never be held captive like that. The same with lions. If you look at lions in the zoo, there were a pair of lions in Islamabad Zoo, but if you look at other lions in zoos, you see they walk back and forth from one end to the cage to the other. So we want to look at all these things in total and be like, is it worth it? We feel like zoos should be phased out completely. I think it sends the wrong message to people when you buy a ticket and you stand in front of an exhibit for 30 seconds and you move on. Nobody learns anything. Nobody learns anything. They should transform these zoos into sanctuaries. You want to protect the animals, then protect them. You're basing a zoo on conservation, then conserve them. Keep them safe, keep them happy, keep them in their own environment. Why keep an elephant isolated? Why keep one animal in a cement pit? It makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Like the message for Youth for Animals, it started out really similar about how we like use zoos as we justify it based on entertainment and education when there are many actually other ways to educate ourselves about animals instead of keeping them captive. And I like what you said about India as well, about how we justify using elephants in like these events and temples because they're supposedly related to our mythology and everything. But at the same
Mhm.
time they have a poor diet. They go through this process called the crush. Like it's
Yeah.
very impactful on them, especially since they're very social animals as well. So yeah.
I was just gonna say, I was gonna touch on Indian, like even the Amber Fort, like now they're they've raised the issue that giving a recommendation that they should stop it. I mean, it shouldn't even be a recommendation. It's a no-brainer. It should be stopped. It's barbaric. It's hot. It's humid. It's COVID. Nobody's touring. Like, retire the elephants. Give them a sanctuary life.
Yeah, yeah. And like how you said that you're using social media and also kind of a social approach to tackle it. I think it's important because many tourists are not aware about how like sitting on an elephant can impact them, the sunlight impacts them. So I think your
Of
approach,
course.
yeah.
Even taking a blessing from an elephant when you go get blessed from an elephant. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't clue in that, they think it's so cute and
Yeah.
it's a great I don't know, everyone's very involved with their social media. It's a great social media pick, but it really isn't. You're actually like taking away from what that elephant represents.
Hmm.
Its spirit's broken. Why do you think that, no elephant would want to, want you to sit on their back or, stand in one spot and give blessings all day or, do a circus trick? No elephant wants to do that. They're forced to do that. They're ripped out of their environment. They're beaten and, their spirits crushed. They're taken, they're put into a zoo. They're trapped. They have no outlet
Yeah,
just for
yeah.
human entertainment.
Yeah, just for us to just walk by like 10 minutes a day and not learn that much.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think now social awareness and social media platforms and organizations like yours and mine and other, ethical places are spreading the word, getting to people to tell them, ecotourism is the way. See animals in their own environment and support ethical sanctuaries.
Mhm.
If sanctuaries allow you to touch an animal, give a bath to an animal, um, feed the animal, or have any human interaction with an animal, to me, that's not ethical.
Mm.
You need to let animals be animals and we watch them from afar.
Yeah, yeah. I think sanctuaries are a really good approach to maintaining that. And I believe Kaavan is right now in a sanctuary. How is he
He is.
doing right now?
He is thriving. He's actually in his quarantine area right now. He's in Cambodia Wildlife Sanctuary. He is every day, you can see the expression on his face, how happy he is. He's not weaving his head anymore at all. He's in the company of three other females. They haven't formally introduced each other, but they touch trunks. And currently, he's being phased out of the quarantine area, and they are building his enclosure in the jungle right now. So he will be shifted there, where he will be living in the jungle with a huge pool, a huge mud pit. He is so happy.
Yeah, that's
And we're
incredible.
so happy
Yeah.
that we could have made it happen for him.
Yeah, I think that much commitment, you've been doing this project for a really like a long time. It's really worth something. And right now, I believe that you guys have a new project right now. Can you just tell us anything about
Yeah,
any upcoming projects?
absolutely. So we have one that's urgent right now. We are working on Bua. But I'll touch Bua after. But right now the urgency is there's four African elephants in Karachi. Uh, Two are held in Karachi Safari Park, and two other are in Karachi Zoo that need urgent medical treatment. Their feet are a mess. We believe it to be foot rot. So basically, their feet are septic. They can't put their feet on the ground. They keep lifting their feet so they don't put pressure on it. It's very heartbreaking. And, we're asking people to support us, to donate. We're trying to raise $30,000 to get a vet expert team in there to help these elephants. They're chained 15 hours a day, and it's very sad and heartbreaking. Um, we want to educate people. Most of these zoos in other developing countries, they just hire people just to hire them. These people aren't experts. These people, get training. I don't know how they get trained, but I think it's just monkey see, monkey do. And, whatever's been working for the last decades, they just continue to do the same thing. Restraining an elephant and chaining them is horrible. It just shows that they're in a prison. Putting bars around them is horrible. Not giving them the right medical treatment is horrible. They're suffering. So we need everybody to help and donate and help us help them.
Yeah.
Bua is just one animal that caught our eye, but it's not just about Bua, it's the whole zoo. Bua represents, like how Kaavan represented Islamabad Zoo, Bua is part of Pata Zoo, which is in Thailand, that is situated in a shopping mall, which is hard to believe that a zoo would keep a gorilla in a shopping mall among other primates, orangutans, gibbons, animals that you would see out in nature, in the forest, that live in trees, that live with families, that they are isolated in darkness, in cement pit, inside a shopping mall, along with many reptiles as well. So our goal is to close it down and get these animals in proper sanctuaries.
Oh,
So we're
can't
asking
believe
people to
that. A
support us.
shopping mall.
It's very heartbreaking. Have you seen her videos?
I haven't yet, but just the thought of just keeping an animal like in a mall for everyone to just see, that's
Yeah. She has never felt sun on her face. She's never felt fresh air. There's nothing out. She's been in there since she was 1 or 2 years old, and now she's like 30 something years old. She has never had anything, soil under her feet, none of them. And it's very sad. And majority of them, I think, are captive born as well, which is even more sad. And the zoo's very dilapidated. It's very old. It needs to be shut down. Stronger laws are needed to help protect these animals.
yeah, right. Also, if there are any like donation links or links to your website where, because I'm sure the viewers would also want to support it, we'll have it linked down below so people can donate to that as well.
I really appreciate that.
Moving on a bit about you, what inspired you to become an advocate for animal welfare?
Okay, so it happened about 7 or 8 years ago where I started just doing some things locally because I had a love for dogs. So I had my first dog, and I really bonded with the dog, but I lost him very early, which made me very sad. And then I started looking at pictures of dogs in shelters, and it started there. And then it kind of just grew from there. I think it just kind of developed me to shifted me into seeing where you see dogs in shelters and then you see animals in distress and captivity. So kind of just that was the foundation which just grew me into uh, where I am now. Um, Seeing, I was never inclined to, like, I never tuned into really, what the zoo represents. You could be the best zoo with millions and millions of dollars. Once you have those bars up for those animals, they're not free roaming. They're in like little enclosures. we ourselves as humans are suffering from the isolation from this pandemic.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
all wearing masks, we're all staying indoors, we're going crazy.
Mhm.
I cannot imagine an animal in captivity. It's so relatable now to see. You see chains, you see, enclosures. We're stuck in a room all day. We can't see family. They're taken away from their family. For what? So I hope COVID really brings a big awareness on, not supporting these things, not supporting circuses. Choose ethical places. Help free the wild. Help our platform. Support. Donate as much as you can. And I get it. Like every dollar counts. It doesn't matter how much effort you put into something, but sign a petition. Use
Mhm.
your voice. The youth is so important right now for generations to come to be able to spread the word further and further and further. We don't want extinction. We don't want, this is not okay,
Mhm.
what's happening. We need to stop thinking that zoos are okay. We need to stop supporting zoos, circuses, elephant rides, um, taking selfies with animals while you're on vacation. It's not okay.
Yeah. I think your example's really good. Like how many young people they start very local. I think that's really important. Like starting with dogs as well first. Uh,
Yes,
yeah, yeah. There are
I think
many.
it's really important.
Mhm.
Start somewhere, but put
Yeah,
your heart in it. It doesn't matter what you start on, but every animal counts, whether it's a dog, a bird, a cat. There's so many in need.
yeah. And I really do hope the whole COVID pandemic does put things into perspective about what it really means to be kept inside, away from family and everything. We actually started a petition based around that concept. So I think that's really important for people to think about. And just kind of going off what you were talking about the youth, just like as a final question, is there any message you would have to the youth with respect about what they can do for animals in this world or in the
Of course,
environment in general as well?
yes. To the youth is what I say. Our future is in your hands. Um, I want the youth to be aware. I feel like everyone is so socially attached to their gadgets that no one's looking around. Very few um, you see are actively trying to make a change, but we need more. We need more hands on deck because what we teach you is what you teach the next generation. We need to make sure that, we respect our environment. We all know now, look what COVID has brought to us. It has put an economic strain on everything. It's hit everybody around the world. We're all paralyzed. We don't want something like this ever again to happen. I'll be happy once this is all over. And maybe it's a wake up call for everybody. It should be. Millions and millions of people are suffering. Millions of people are out of work. Millions of animals that depend on tourism are going hungry.
Yeah.
We need to support sanctuaries. We need to end captivity. We all need to just make the world a better place. Um, Restore our faith in compassion and friendship and, helping others.
Yeah, I think that's a really good message, and I'm sure the youth can learn a lot from your experiences and find inspiration from Free the Wild as well. Yeah, and I think starting small is also good. Even as much as like donating or signing a petition can really make a
Of course,
difference.
sharing. If you can't donate, share. I always say that if you cannot afford to donate, I totally, not everybody has accessible. Everyone right now is kind of paycheck to paycheck or living without a paycheck. But sharing is caring.
Mhm.
You're giving that animal a voice. You're spreading a good message. Someone will see it, someone will read it. Um, Twitter is a great platform to spread awareness. Facebook, Instagram, whatever you can do to do your part, like whatever it is you're passionate about, do it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good message. So, thank you so much for your valuable insights. I think, again, it's really important for the youth generation to take action as you conveyed. Let's thank Miss Sleem again for her insights and for you being here today. We really appreciate it. I think this was a really good and productive discussion.
I think so too. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope we can get together again once we have our other projects settled.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And of course, I'll link down your website and everything in the, I guess, comments, and then people can go check that out. And yeah, that sounds really good.
Thank you so much for your time.